vlog number 24. It's a Friday, so definitely 2-5 is going to be going on. Updates, this month is not very good. Last vlog we did win, but I think that was like the only session we won that week. We won another one small. We were down last 2 weeks, so not great. Thankfully, we've just been sun running for promotions, and this week has been better, thankfully. So we're almost breaking even playing. So I think we're just down 500, but we're up almost 2,000 in promotions. So altogether, not the best month. We still got today and next week. So let's head right in and try to get a good session. All right, let's play some poker. There's an open seat in 2-5, so no 1-3 today. We're buying for $1,000. Head over to the table. Let's jump right into the first hand. We get a pretty hand to get it started. King, queen suited and under the gun. I make it $15 and get the hijack and button a call. So 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes 9-7-3, so flush draw, 2 cards, backdoor straight draw. Pretty good. In the moment, I do decide to check because this board just feels better for the callers than me since I'm under the gun. So I don't have any 2 pairs. Sure, I have 9-7s over cards. But altogether, I do like having a flush draw in my checking range. So if I do hit, I feel like they won't put it on me that often since people usually bet with a flush draw. So I think both ways is fine. I do check and it checks to the button. He makes it $25 and happy calling here with my flush draw. So that's what I do. And the hijack folds. So heads up to our turn. Turn is beautiful. It's a deuce of clubs. So we hit a king high flush. I check just hoping that he keeps on going for value. If he has top pair, sets, 2 pairs. And if he does have a bluff, definitely this turn would be a good candidate to keep it going, but sadly he checks back. River is not the best. It's a 4 of clubs, so now there's 4 of them on the board. Ace of clubs is beating us, but I don't think he's having that too often since I feel like if he was bluffing, that would definitely be a good turn to barrel on if he had that card in his hand. And I'm going to go for value, but on that scary river, I don't think I'm going to go too big. And as well, I have the king and queen. So we have the second nuts, and we're sadly blocking the third nuts. That's not the best. So I just make it $40. He thinks for a little bit and does call. We show, and of course, we're good. We take down the first pot of the session. We get an upgrade next hand with ace king suited in the low jack. Under the gun 2 makes it $20. I 3-bet to 60. Folds back to him, and he 4-bets to $220. Usually I'd be a little worried here since 4-bets in these games tend to be nutted hands. I still wouldn't be folding ace king suited in position, of course, but in this moment it felt a little weaker, and that was because of some backstory here. Under the 2, I know him for a little while. He's one of the first players I met back in the day when I was playing 1-3 and trying to move up. I kind of was asking him about it, and he was kind of, giving me insight about the game, telling me that I should move up, that if I'm beating 1-3, I could beat 2-5 as well. And I haven't played with him in a while. This is the first time in a few months, and this is the first hand he's playing. So the fact that I'm 3-betting him in the first hand, I just felt like he was going to want to battle and not let me, push him around and fight back. So I considered 5-betting, but I thought about it for a little while and just felt if I 5-bet, he's going to fold all those bluffs I think he could have. So I decided just to call. Let's see a flop. Flop comes 7-5-9, so not ideal. We do have backdoor flush draw going on. He bets. He makes it $150, and not loving this spot. Definitely all of his nutted hands are beating us, and in the moment I did briefly consider just folding here, but I remembered that I just felt like he was 4-betting wide pre-flop. So all of those wide hands, just ace queen, ace jack, ace 10, king queen, queen jack maybe, we're beating all of those hands. We're only losing against pocket pairs. I don't think he'd be 4-betting me with sets. I think that hit this board. I think mostly he'd just be calling with those. So I still think that my hand may be good, so I call. Turn is a 6, so no help, but we see good news when he checks, and I don't see the value in betting here. I think we're beating a lot of his hands, and the ones that are beating us, I don't think are folding to a bet anyways, so I check back. River is pretty bad. It's a queen that brings in the flush, but I feel like it'd be barreling the turn with the flush if he had that, so I'm not worried about that. What I was worried about, I felt like one of the hands he very likely could have is ace queen, and now we're losing against that. But he checks once again, so happy to get the showdown. I check, and see the good news when he flips over ace jack off. So our ace high is good, and we were right with a suspicion that he was 4-betting us light, and we take down this pot. Now we're in the button with 4-5 suited. There's 2 limpers, so I'm gonna get $25. Now the big blind thinks that's not enough. He 3-bets a 75, under the gun calls, and I'm not folding this suited hand against a 3-bet. It's definitely a pretty good one to be calling with and defending, since if we hit, it's very likely not going to hit the 3-bet range from the big blind. And he made it on a smaller size, it's 3x and under the gun calls, so in position, happy calling here. Let's see a flop. Sadly, we don't hit the board at all when it comes 8-8 deuce. So when big blind keeps it going and he bets $80, under gun folds, and we're folding here. Let's move on. Now we're going to hijack with pocket jacks. Low jack, same player that 4-bet us earlier when we had ace king, makes it 20, so we're 3-betting him again. I make it 60, button cold calls, gets back to him, and once again he 4-bets us to $250. This situation did feel different just because the previous hand happened and I saw that he 4-bet me light. So I was just thinking, the fact that I know that, I felt like he'd be a little tighter, thinking that I won't believe him. So they still feel pretty nitty, but I do just go with my gut and fold. So does the button, and we see the great news when he flips over pocket aces. So we saved us some money in this spot, unless of course we would have flopped a set, and he takes it down. Now our pocket pair isn't as pretty. Pocket fives under the gun. I make it $15, get 3 callers. Now the cutoff 3-bets is 75, so definitely above average aggression pre-flop. I usually don't see too many 3-bets and 4-bets, but today it's been happening pretty often, and we're deep enough that I think calling here is profitable, so that's what I do, and so does the low jack. But when we completely miss the board and cut off c-bets, we just fold and we move on. Seems like the session of the pocket pairs, since now we have pocket queens in the cutoff. There's one limper, so I make it $20. Button 3-bets us, of course, to 60. Big blind cold calls, limper folds onto us, and here I definitely think I make a mistake. We're late against late, so I definitely think the button could be 3-betting wider than usual, and the big blind cold call, that's basically like dead money. I think I should always be 4-betting here, and if he jams, then I think maybe we could find a fold, but in the moment, I do just call. That again, I'm definitely not a fan of. So we go 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes 5, 5, 7. So pretty good. Checks to the button and he c-bets. He makes it $80. Big blind calls, and I think just calling here, I don't think raising makes sense, since the button can have aces and kings and a big blind can have trips. So I call. Turn is in 9. That brings in 8-6 for a straight. That maybe the big blind could have that, even though it sounds pretty crazy, since he just loves calling hands pre-flop, and especially when it's suited. So maybe he has 8-6 suited, but I'm not sure about that. It does bring in a backdoor flush. It checks to the button, and now he slows down and checks back. River is a jack. That brings into the backdoor flush, and now the big blind bets. He makes it $220, and I was really not liking this spot. I definitely feel like my hand is stronger than what I'll usually have here, since again, I should be 4-betting queens pre-flop, but I could have 5s. I'm calling him if I raise with 5-6 suited, 4-5 suited. I'm calling the 3-bet, especially when the big blind calls. So it just looks super strong, because I could have a lot of nutted hands myself in this spot. Sure, I'm check raising them sometimes on the flop, but altogether, when he just bets, it just felt so strong. And this player, I just feel like usually he's just always betting for value. I haven't seen him bluffing almost ever. So even though it feels very tight, I fold. Button folds as well, and we see the great news when the big blind flips over. Ace-6 suited for the nut flush, so as I said, he does not like the full hands pre-flop, and I guess on the flop either, since he did call just with a backdoor and an overcard. And yeah, he takes it down. This is the benefit of playing often in the same place, that I just know players a lot better. If it was against an unknown, I don't know if I would have been able to fold, but knowing this player, we saved ourselves some money. Let's move on to the next hand. Things have got a lot crazier, since 2 seats to my left, the craziest player I've ever played against sat down. She is just super drunk, going all in nonstop with absolute garbage. And yeah, definitely spicing up the game. We look down at ace king off in a hijack. Under the 2 makes it $20, and usually I'd be 3-betting him, but as I said, the button, she is a crazy action player, and under the 2, he's a tight reg, so I don't want to play against him heads up. And I decide in this specific spot to call to see what the button decides to do. The cutoff calls as well, and she does not disappoint when she jams all in for over $1,000. folds to under than 2, and he goes into the tank for a decent amount of time, does end up folding. I just have 860 in front of me since I didn't add on, so I snap call. I show her my hand, and she flips over 5 deuce off. So as you see, I was not exaggerating as how action this woman is. This is one of the craziest spots I've ever been in, playing for almost a $2,000 pot all in pre-flop against 5 deuce off. So please don't let us lose against that hand. I was just thinking, well, at least if I do, this is just gonna be a hilarious story. Let's hit a run out. Thankfully, we see an ace when it comes ace 6-4, but we're still in danger since any 3 will give her a straight. Turn is a 9, and river is another ace. So our ace king holds when river trips, 5 deuce off, no good. Thankfully. And later on, under than 2 told me he folded ace queen off. That sounded pretty crazy that he folded against this player that went all in. So yeah, he saved himself a lot of money for being pretty tight, as yeah, he tends to be, but I don't put it against him. That is a huge jam, and he had 2 of us left to talk after us, so could have been bigger, but I'm not complaining since we just took down $860 against 5 deuce off. That now brings us up $760. So the session is definitely looking pretty good. And the table is very action since the button she's adding on. So a lot of things can still happen. Let's move on to the next hand. Now the straddle is going on. We looked on a jack 9 suited in the big blind. Under than 1, the action player makes it $40. Button calls, and usually I just be folding here since I don't even close the action. Under the gun is still left to talk, but I want to play hands against under than 1, so I do call, and so does under the gun. So 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes 8-10-4, so open-ended straight draw, backdoor flush draw. It checks to under than 1, and she just folds. So yeah, that's interesting. And now the button, he bets, he makes it $100, and he is the tighter player that folded ace queen earlier. So definitely looks strong, but I think with the open-ended, I got a call here, and if we hit, we could definitely get value from him. So that's what I do, and so does under the gun. So 3 ways to a turn. Turn is no help, it's a 3, and then checks to the button, and he keeps on betting. He makes it $200, and I was getting frustrating here since I felt like I just should have folded pre-flop. Just calling with this hand multi-way is just not the best play, and I just felt like calling the flop is just building, making my mistake more and more expensive. And I do think that thought was getting me frustrated when I should have just thought in the moment, we're here now, what's the best choice to do in the moment? And he's betting less than half pot, and we have open in the straight draw, and our jack may be good as well. So I do think we're just getting the price to call independent of what the outcome is. But as I said, in the moment, I was just thinking like my pre-flop choice was a mistake, and I just didn't want to build up and make it more and more expensive. So I do just fold. So does under the gun, and the button takes it down. And yeah, not very happy with this spot just because I think I let my emotions take over and I wasn't thinking logically. In these spots, I just got to see how big's the pot, how much is he betting, am I getting a price to hit my draw, and if I am, I got a call. It shouldn't be thinking I think I'm going to miss the river. That does not matter. But yeah, you know, we all make mistakes. Let's move on to the next hand. I want to hijack with pocket queens. Under than limps, under than 1 makes it $20, under than 2, 3 bets to 70 onto us, and usually I'd be 4 betting here, but it's early against early against early, and under the gun 2, he's the type player I was mentioning earlier. He almost never 3 bets, and the fact that he's doing it in early position just looked like so damn strong. It just really seemed like aces, kings, and I think sometimes he's even calling with ace king. So I do just decide to be safe here against such a strong range. I call, everybody else folds, so heads up to a flop. Flop comes jack, deuce, 9, so we got an overpair and a queen high flush draw, and he bets. He makes it $100 onto us, and I just got into my mind that I just thought for sure he had aces and kings, that he'd just never be c-betting here with ace king, just leaving him those 2 over pairs. And yeah, again, definitely this isn't my best session ever. I think I definitely made a few mistakes here, more than the usual. And I do just I just talk myself into saying that he only has aces and kings here, and I do fold. That I definitely think is way too tight. I think he could have ace king as well, and I see it in that, especially if he has an ace of diamonds. But again, in a moment, I do fold, and he flashes us the ace of diamonds. So unless he had ace king of diamonds for the nuts, we were ahead. Since if he had aces, he'd be showing since you get promotions with that. So yeah, altogether, definitely I think it's a pretty bad fold, especially guys, I had the queen of diamonds. So if he did have aces and kings without a diamond, we still had outs against those and ace king. So I think it's just a spot. I just got to call on the flop. And if he bets big on the turn, I definitely think then we can start folding, since I don't think he's barreling turn unless he has overpairs, especially this player. But yeah, in the moment, that is what we do. So let's move on. We get another premium with ace king off in the cutoff. Hijack makes it 20, so we're going to 3-bet him again. I make it 60. Let's see if he 4-bets. He doesn't have the chance though, since the button cold 4-bets at $200. Folds to us, and yeah, if I was in a game with aggressive players pre-flop, I think I have to call here or jam myself. But I just never see cold 4-bets in these games unless they straight up have the nuts, aces, kings. And sometimes people even cold call with queens, but I definitely think it'd be full betting those. So altogether, I just felt like I only have $60 committed here in a spot that I may just be way behind, or best case scenario, I'm flipping, since I don't think he's cold four betting with ace queen. I decided just to let it go, just let him have those $60 and not just be in a pretty tough spot, since if I call him out of position, the pot is $400. And even if I flop a king, I just feel like he has aces a bunch of the time here. So yeah, I am still happy with this fold, even though it looks super tight, and he takes it down. This brings us to the last hand of the session. We got ace 8 off in the button. It folds to us, so I make it $15, and only the big blind calls, so heads up to a flop. Flop comes 8, 6, jack, so top pair, 8 kicker, pretty good. So when he checks to us, I see bet for $15, and he calls. Turn is at 10. That brings in some 2-pair combos that we're losing against. Jack 10, 10, 6. I definitely think he'd have, since he is the player that calls a lot. Pre-flop, he's the one that called the 3-bet. Cold called it with ace 6 suited. So you definitely could have both of those, but I still think we get value from worse aces and other jacks, and there's the flush draw. But in the moment, I do decide to pot control and check back. River is another 6, and now he bets. He makes it $75. That is a pretty huge size, over the size of the pot. And just in general, I think I got a call here. I check back the turn with ace, so definitely underrepresented my hand. And he's trying to say he has a 6, but there is a good amount of draws that missed on the flop, especially the flush draw. So with that, I do think I got a call. But this is the player that I mentioned earlier that he's usually just always betting for value. I almost never see him bluffing. So maybe just because of that, I could just go more towards folding. But as I said, after checking the turn, I just felt like I couldn't fold a river, especially when a flush draw misses. So I do call. And he flips over 6-4 off for river trips, and our ace is no good. So with that, we end our session. Definitely not on the best note. Let's rack up, cash out, and see how we did. That was the end of that session. This is not the same night that I played. This is a few weeks later. I actually just finished editing it, so it'll be up in 2 days after tomorrow. And I did film an outro that night, but I was super out of it. I made like 10 of them. I was just in the car filming over and over again, and it didn't come out good. Even the last one that I thought was good enough at the moment. And I just want to do a new one. So that night, I was in for $1,000, out for $1,330. So we did book a profit, thankfully. And one big reason I want to talk about why I'm making a new one is put simply, I think I was bitching too much on that outro, and I caught myself. I wasn't sleeping well, and my daughters just weren't doing great at night, and I was sleeping way less than average, and I was feeling it a lot. And I think that's fine. Being aware of that and sharing it is okay. But I think I was using that as an excuse, and not just on that vlog, just in my mind, telling myself. And I was using it, as I said, an excuse to kind of, in a way, be lazy and let myself have lower standards than I usually have for myself. I was just being way more distracted, and mistakes were happening more often. And I don't want to be hard on myself, like, oh, I can't make mistakes, but I can still play my best. I can still play my A game even though I sleep 2-5 hours. and I know I can. But if I go to the table being, I'm tired, I'm gonna play bad, let's just try to do our best, well, I don't think that's going with the best mentality to play my best game. So I think I was going that way to the tables, just kind of expecting to not play my best because I'm tired. And yeah, that is definitely, I think, one of the reasons I made way more mistakes than usual on that vlog. Definitely after editing it, it's one of those that's like, I did this. But hey, you know, that's poker. The great part of making vlogs is I have to go through my previous hands and be aware that I make sets mistakes and, you know, be more aware of it in the future. So I'm working a lot on it, on my mental game, because I play almost every day. So I do not want bad beats, bad runs, or me making mistakes to put me on tilt. And then I take it off of the table and I bring it home and I'm in a bad mood. It comes in the next day. I don't want that happening to me. And I'm working a lot off the table and reading books about resilience, and big thing now is just working out. I've been pushing myself like crazy and I feel it. I feel so much better since that session. I've been feeling great, and I've had some pretty rough sessions after that, but it hasn't got to me. So far so good. Maybe in the future I'll share things I've been doing specifically that's been helping my mental game on the table. But that's it for this outro. Don't want to make it too long. Just want to end it on a good note. You know, I didn't want to put that other one because you guys already saw me make a good amount of mistakes. I didn't want to end it complaining. So I want to end it on a good note, positive note. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. And if you're curious, this is my cool ass pajamas that are from Christmas. It's a SeaWorld. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you can subscribe, that always helps. And leave a comment. Always happy to talk about the hands. And I'll see you guys next week.